All right, welcome back. We are now in part 3 of mixing bluegrass start to finish. Yeah, this is called Lexington by Hancock and Shouse, recorded by me and Jeff at Tower Station. And I'm not going to explain where we left off. We're just going to get right back into it. All right, let's dive on in. All right, so the first thing I want to do now is a little bit more work on the acoustic guitar. Now, Arthur liked the acoustic to sound as woody and mid-heavy as possible, not too bright. And we're going to need to do some work here because, unfortunately, on this song, we only recorded the acoustic with one microphone. We got a great take, and it is a full sound. Right now, we have some maximizer on there, some parallel compression, and we have some subtractive EQ, and we have some soft knee ratio compression going on. What I do want to do is saturate this guitar next and try to see if we can get some more of harmonic content going on in the lows and low mids to enhance that woody sound. So that's where we're going to start today, is working on the acoustic guitar. Now, because I've decided to saturate, I am going to actually adjust my signal flow here. We're going to take the heavy parallel compression up above the saturator, and then after that will be the inflator. So we're doing our compression before saturation. And if we have to go back and increase the compression levels, then we will revisit this. But let's start here. Now, I want to saturate the low end of the guitar, but not down in the bassy stuff. I want to get the lows and low mids saturated without creating too many harmonics that go up into the higher mids. If this crossover is now at 1K, and this bottom one, I'm going to bring up over 100. So we'll start with like 150 to 1K, and I want to do some tube down here. And we're just going to do a warm tube very subtly. So there, I'm disabling the low band down here. Everything below 150, I do not want to saturate. Now, I'm going to also disable the high band for right now, and let's work on the tubes in the mids here. And again, this is between 150 and 1K. And I might need to lower this down to more like 800 because, like I said, I'm trying to avoid pushing harmonics into the 3 to 5K region. So let's take a gander here and see what we can do with this acoustic. So I ended up driving it fairly hard here and rolling it back and doing this saturation in parallel. So here's bypassed, and then I'll turn it on. Let's take a listen to this tape here. And same thing. I'm actually switched it to warm tape here in Saturn instead of clean. And this is driving at about 35% and 50% parallel. So we'll bypass Saturn here, and then we'll turn the plugin back on so you can hear it with starting without saturation and then with. Pop it in the mix. Yeah, very nice. And you can see the little blue dot here turning on and off. That's me bypassing the plugin so you can hear it. Here's it bypassed, and we'll turn it back on one more time. Yeah, very nice. It's becoming a little more mid-heavy. We have the harmonics going on in the mid-range, and we're kind of smoothing out the high end without an EQ there. So nice subtle saturation job. I'm enjoying that a lot. Now, the inflator is at the end of the chain. I'm actually going to push it up a little bit. Not the effect, but pushing it up towards the clipper. And we're going to make this louder, and we'll change it at the output to offset so we level match. But basically, this is going to engage a little bit of clipping on the guitar. So we'll do a little bit more dynamics control here at the end of the chain, and we'll try it and see how it works. That's 8 dB. We'll level match that. I'm liking that. We're getting more of that woody tone out of there. So here I have mixed down the acoustic just so we could look at it. And this is the mix down here in the brown and the original up in green. So you can see that the clipper only engaged a tiny, tiny little bit, which is what I wanted. I just wanted to double check and take a look and make sure that the waveform was what I was expecting here and just get a visual on it. Now, right up here, you can see those spiky transients. They have been clipped a little bit down here. So I did that by ear. I just wanted to double check it. So it does actually look pretty good. I wasn't trying to overly clip this acoustic. And I think it's ready for a sculpting EQ, but let's go ahead and move on here to the fiddle. I do want to saturate the fiddle as well. The fiddle also only has the one microphone on it. Now, we were using a little bit of the saturation that comes off of the Harrison here on the fiddle, but I do want a little more. I'm going to bring it in after the EQ in the chain, and I am going to do a multiband saturation here. The sweet spots for me on the fiddle and the mix are around the 400 range and the 4K range. So somewhere right in there around 800, we're going to do two different types of saturation here. And again, I do want to try a warm tube on the bottom of the fiddle and a tape on the top. All right, I'm going to change that crossover region up a little higher. Now we're right around 1.2K. Don't want any audible distortion there, not even in parallel. Okay, bypass Saturn. Bring it on. that's nice. That is smoothing out the dynamics. It's definitely making it more full and fat. I am liking that. And typically we do saturation after dynamics, but before like boosting and sculpting EQ, because the saturation will change the tone a little bit and do a little tone shaping depending on how much harmonics you introduce and where. So that is nice right there. I'm enjoying that. Let's go back to a spot that's not a solo. Very good. And then also before we get into boosting EQs, I do want to revisit the banjo now that the mix is coming together a little further. And I do want to try to hit it a little harder with the maximizer here. Yeah, I am liking that. So here we've added the multiband dynamics onto the banjo bus. And this is going to do a little bit of tone shaping because I am boosting the high mid transients, but I have the threshold set to just catch those peaks a little better. And then in the mids where we're trying to keep it from getting too boxy, this is between about 750 and about 2700. We do have a little bit of downwards expansion going on, and this is just kind of sucking the boxiness out when the notes aren't playing. And then for the lower fundamentals, there's a slight boost, but a little bit of compression going on. So you can see the yellow up here, that's bypass and on, and we'll go back and forth. Yeah, that's helping its presence in the mix. That's really nice. And it's working right into the inflator really well. Turn the curve down a hair more because of the brightness that we introduced there. And that's sounding pretty good. So now we are going to actually revisit our bus compressor here and see how we're hitting it. And I'm going to bring the vocals back on for that.
The dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place.
Yeah, the saturation on the guitar and the fiddle has filled them out more. That's nice. The banjo's sitting better in the mix. Everything's still hitting our bus compressor really gently. I'm liking that so far. So that's doing really good there. Now, one thing I haven't talked about too much is reference tracks in this series here on Mixing Start to Finish. And I do have reference tracks that I used on this project, but obviously for copyright reasons, I'm not going to be playing them. But yes, this is super important. Throughout the process, you should be flipping back and forth to your reference tracks. And what I did is found old traditional stuff, even though the recordings weren't that great. And I also used more modern stuff that wasn't as traditional sounding as what the band wanted for the final outcome. So I had a variety. But we also want to be keep checking our spectrum analyzer to make sure that our overall tonal balance is kind of where we want it, and that we're not ignoring things that are getting too bass heavy or too treble heavy just because we're used to it sitting in the mix for so long. So let's go take a look at our full mix spectrum analyzer and make sure that we're still where we want to be.
The dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in.
Yeah, we're doing okay there. We do have some sibilants there that we got to take care of, and we do have a little bit of high presence in between 6 and 7K, more than we want, and we still have more room in the 3K region. But the mix is just super heavy in the mids, between like 4 and 8 and 900, and that's bluegrass for you. So we want to keep that in mind as we start making our sculpting EQ moves and our boosting. But yeah, the thing about bluegrass is everything is right there in the mids. So before we start doing boosting EQ now and start doing the sculpting, I do want to turn on basically some NS10s more or less. If you set up an EQ on your mix bus and you roll off some lows and highs and kind of just narrow yourself down to the mid range, that can be a really good way to do some EQ work. Right now I have this one set at 208K. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that on.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace.
And obviously the vocals sound a little too loud now in the mix, and that's fine. I'm not going to mess with the faders while I'm in NS10 mode, but I am going to start to EQ the instruments against each other here with the mids isolated. And now we're getting to kind of the fun part. So in a sense, you can think about everything we've done up till now as preparing for the final touches of the EQ work. As much as these instruments all have their own unique sound, these mid-range instruments do not necessarily mix themselves very well. And now is the time to kind of boost the accent frequencies that we want into the mix and to try to finish off the little pockets where everything lives. Which I think is kind of the fun part. Now, for the fiddle, like I said, the frequencies that it tends to dominate the mix best in a way that it still sounds like a really natural fiddle is if it has a bit of its own presence in the mix at around 400 and around 4K. For the banjo, it's more around 500 and 5K. The acoustic needs a solid presence across the entire frequency range, and if I dip anything out, it's going to be those high mids to make it sound a little more woody, but hopefully without it sounding boxy or muddy. And then the mandolin, which is kind of, in a sense, acting as our snare drum rhythmically, it has somewhere around 3K, so that's our goal right now. So let's hop back into the mix and do some EQ work here where we're actually going to do some boosting and sculpting now. So what I want to do is do separate EQs now. Instead of going back to the subtractive EQs and doing any more adjustment on those same plugins, we're going to do separate EQs now so we can bypass them all. And that way you guys can hear these moves on their own as kind of a separate process. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on some Pro Q3s. And we'll make some moves and then we'll bypass them and compare them to where we're leaving off right now. So I've added Pro Q3s to the banjo bus and the mandolin bus, the acoustic guitar, and the fiddle. We're going to start there. And I'm kind of saving the mandolin solo and the backup vocal for the end. On the buses where I do have the Oxford inflator doing the maximization, I am putting this new sculpting EQ before that, but after all of the other subtractive EQ, dynamics processing, and saturation. So if we go ahead and start with the mandolin, let's take a listen here. Now, like I said, this song is in B. These fundamentals right here, this is F sharp where you can see that spike, and that's probably where we're going to want to accent. And this is at 367 F sharp. And then it's going to be right around 3K that we're going to boost the mandolin. And another thing that I'm going to do so I don't have to boost so much is do a mid dip with the EQ makeup gain on. And I'm going to dip in between the frequencies I want to accent instead of just boosting. Bypass that node. Great, that's nice. And then I'm going to do the boosting with upward dynamics here. And that is increasing the boxiness there, but once we turn this one on, it should balance out. Let's take a listen. Now, our reduction here, I moved to a C sharp, so it is not in key, and I added some more dynamics, pulling down even more. So let's take a listen to this again, bypassed, and then we'll turn it on. All right, let's pop that in the mix and take a listen. And here's this little blue note here. That's bypass and that's on. I'm going to turn the lead vocal on, and we're going to see if we've created any masking in the highs there, in the high mids.
For the dead, whoa, take me home.
Now, if any masking, it sounds like it's actually been created in the 300 range, and that is not really a problem.
For the dead, whoa.
And at this point, I am going to go ahead and turn the vocal down a touch. It is just too loud in the mix, and I'm just going to do it at the output here on the last plug-in.
For the dead, whoa.
And we will come back to the overall vocal volume after these moves, and I'll show you how to set the LUFS of the lead vocal compared to the rest of the mix. But I did turn it down just a couple dB there. That's going to help with this process.
For the dead, whoa.
Okay, bypass this EQ on the mandolins again.
For the dead, whoa, take me home. I find some.
And if I go back to the channel strip, we had a boost of 2.4 at 1.6 hertz. I'm actually going to do a static boost of just about a dB at around 3K. And we're going to push that into the 1176. And then that's the part that on the other side of the 1176 has the upwards dynamics on our new EQ.
For the dead, whoa, take me home. For the dead, whoa, for the dead, whoa.
I'm going to pull a little more of this out and make sure that this bottom is totally under control with compression. This is at about 100 hertz.
For the dead, whoa.
And I'm going to change that to a low shelf.
For the dead, whoa, take me home. I find solace.
I am going to change this to natural phase. I don't hear any phase shift that I'm creating, but I just want to see how this sounds.
For the dead, whoa.
Get back to zero latency.
For the dead, whoa.
Yeah, I actually think the natural phase does sound better.
For the dead, whoa.
Bypass.
For the dead, whoa, take me home. I find solace in many.
And we're going to go ahead and do some compression on the high end as well.
For the dead, whoa.
Just to keep those chops more steady. That's sounding pretty good. Let's move on to the banjos.
For the dead, whoa, take me home.
And again, we'll turn the EQ auto gain on.
For the dead, whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place.
Now, for the high mids on the banjo, since we have it sounding really close to where we want, that 5K region where I like it, I'm actually just going to do a dip and recovery and we're going to keep it really dynamic. So the recovery is basically upwards expansion here. And this is at 5,500.
For the dead. Whoa.
I'm going to actually do this manually with the threshold.
For the dead. Whoa. Take me home. I find solace in many a place. But without your love, that was erased. Well, you told me that you loved me. You told me that you cared, and you told me that you would go away.
I'm going to do something similar here. We are going to just boost this up a little bit. I'm going to set this around 500. And that is at B, which is nice because we're in the key of B. And this one was at F. I'm going to change that to F sharp. And that is almost at 6K now. Let's see how this sounds.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place. But without your love, that was erased.
And this dip at 1414, that is at F natural. So we're trying to keep this as musical as possible here. And then we're going to bypass this and turn it back on.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place.
Yep, I like the clarity. I like the hole that those frequencies are living in. That is coming along really nice. Now let's hop over to the acoustic here. And again, this is after saturation, but before inflator.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home.
And just to revisit, our first EQ has a tilt on it.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home.
And that was set at just about 1.8K. I'm going to increase that a little bit now, just a hair.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference there. We're going to go ahead and do that a little more.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home.
Yeah, that's nice. And let's go back to our new EQ here. And I'm going to set the auto gain on, and we are going to pull down now on the harsh high mids there between like 3 and 5, maybe 6, 7, somewhere up in here. We're going to pull down with the auto EQ makeup gain on, and this is going to, carve out a little bit of the competition between the harsh frequencies of the guitar and the enunciation of the vocal. And it's going to bring the rest around this frequency spectrum up with the auto gain. So let's dig around here and listen to the acoustic in the mix and how it's sitting as we do this, and see if we can push this into a nice little hole with the auto gain on.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place. Without your love, that was erased. Well, you told me that you loved me.
Yeah, I do like that. It sounds a little more woody and natural. And then I'm going to do a big Baxendal here boost. Let's see. Nice woody, muddy frequency here around. This is 485. Let's try that. This is just over 1 dB.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place.
And bypass that EQ.
For the dead. Whoa, take me home. I find
And I do like it, even though it's muddying up the 400 region of the mix. That's the way we want the acoustic to sound, and we may adjust some panning to make up for that, but I do want to add just a touch of air up here at the high end at 20K.
The dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace.
I'm liking that so far. Let's revisit our saturation real quick.
The dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place, but without your love that was erased. Well, you told me that you loved me, you told me that you cared, and you told me that you would go anywhere. Oh.
And just a little bit of tone shaping there with the EQ on these bands. All right, I'm liking that so far. And now let's hop into the fiddle, and we're going to go straight to the solo here.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I felt.
Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm going to do yet another high pass on this fiddle here. Okay, and bypass this EQ. Still sounded natural, still sounded nice. I do want some more presence out of the high mids, but I'm actually going to go back and readjust the saturation here. Switch it to a warm tape and see how that sounds. Yeah, turn the mix up a little bit. We're still in parallel, but now we're running at about 80% wet, and I changed it to a warm tape, adding a little bit more harmonics up here, and it doesn't sound squeaky harsh to me. It sounds nice. Yeah, removing this little bit here, this is not even a dB at 1.3K. It sounds more natural if I leave that in, but it makes it cut through the mix better if I have it on. So what I'm going to do is actually just take this back up to unity there and just add a little bit of compression on this region. Yep, that sounds nice and natural there. Okay. I'm not trying to overdo anything, and I'm not trying to process to the point where the instruments don't sound like a natural instrument right in front of you in the living room, because that's the whole goal here. Even though I did a little bit of adjustment to the saturation and I adjusted the inflators a little bit, let's turn all four of those EQs off. That's on the fiddle, the acoustic, the mandolin bus, and the banjo bus. And we'll listen to them without, and then we'll turn them back on.
Lexington, take me home.
And all 4 back on.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, very nice. I'm liking that. All right, and now let's turn the NS10 off and bring all of the bass and high end back into the mix and take a listen.
Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take.
Yeah, I'm liking it. The only thing I'm missing is the mandolin chop is now no longer as prevalent as it was.
Lexington, take me home.
And for that, we are going to add some extra crunch on the front end of those transients here. So even though we're doing upwards expansion on those transients, so those dynamics are increasing with the EQ that we just did, I'm actually going to try bringing the 660 on now that those transients would be pushing into this compressor. And we're going to leave the time constant at its fastest. And we're actually just going to hit the transients of the mandolin on purpose and see what kind of sound sculpting we can do with just a hair of gain reduction.
Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take me home. I got a twin bed, I got a one easy.
Yeah, that pushed that mandolin transient straight to the front of the mix, and it still sounds really nice. It's a bit aggressive in solo, but it sounds really smooth and nice in the mix.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, and while we're at it, we are going to do the same thing to Chris's vocal. We're going to give this a shot right back at the beginning of the chain. Let's get some Fairchild 660 on that vocal. And if it's too much, we'll pull it back out, but I want to give it a try. This should make Chris really front and present, and then we'll dial him back down into the mix, and we'll talk about the LUFS of the lead vocal versus the mix.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah.
Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take me home. I got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home. Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take me home. I got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home.
All right, so running him in parallel, whether we're only hearing about 30% of this 660 here, and let's take a listen again.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, there's just a presence and a brightness and an immediacy that comes from his voice when this is on. And that shouldn't have changed our processing as it hit the rest of the compressors too much. Let's double check. Not overloading that EQ. Similar. Yeah, doing good there.
Lexington, take me home.
Okay, bypass the 660.
Lexington, take me home.
that point, I'm going to bring the air back a hair on this guy.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, that Fairchild has such an aggressive sound to it, but it's such a good sound. It's really bringing out the consonants in the performance. And if anything, we're just going to dial it back another hair.
Lexington, take me home.
Now the vocal and the mandolin are pushing through the mix in terms of transients. The immediacy and the impact of the performance of the vocal and the mandolin is just much more out in front.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, I am liking that a lot. Turn the NS10 back on.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, I think that's good. We have nice holes for everything to live in right now. You know, there's still a little bit of things stepping on each other because they're all mid-range, but it's all still sounding really natural, which is what we want.
Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take me home.
At this point, I might bring on a hair of a de-esser onto Chris's voice, and we'll see how it does. And I'm going to do that at the end of all of the compression.
Lexington, Lexington, take me home. Lexington, take me home. A twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair.
And I do that actually, I'm going to move that in the chain just behind the opto before the parallel compression.
Lexington, take me home.
Back where it was.
Lexington, Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, it's a little less effective there, but it's a little more natural.
Lexington, take me home.
I have that at 7K. Let me turn it down to 6 and see if we catch any more.
Lexington, take me home.
Yeah. Sometimes male vocalists, a lot of the sibilance issue is even closer down to 5.
Lexington.
Not so much here on this line anyway. So we'll revisit this as we go. I'm going to leave it around 6 for now. Yeah, a little bit of de-esser there is now really helping. And it looks like a lot of plugins on Chris's voice, but they're all doing a tiny, tiny amount. If we turn all of them off.
Lexington.
And all of them back on.
Lexington, take me home. We laid down our heads. We said with a smile, I'll see you in the morning if we laid down our heads. We laid down our heads. We said with a smile.
Yeah, it's mainly, this is at 79. I might just increase this a little more.
We laid down our heads. We said with a smile.
Yeah, doing good there.
We take me home. Lexington, take me home.
I would like a touch more presence on the fiddle at this point. This is right up at about 13K, but I'm going to compress it back down to the 0 mark so it doesn't, so it's not static, so it's not doing it all the time. And if anything gets too bright up there, it'll bring it back down.
Take me home.
Yeah, that brings the fiddle out on the high end. It makes a big difference. Bypass.
Take me home.
Yeah, it gives a little air region up there.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home.
All right, that sounded really good. At this point, I want to bring on a little bit more bus compression here and do it in parallel. And I'm going to use the Kotelnikov for this because it does tend to work so good in parallel compression, especially on the bus here. 6 dB slope down here, 100. I'm going to bring that up to 2. I'm going to go ahead and start with the mix at 50%.
Take me home.
I'm going to move the peak crest up a bit so we do get a little bit of peak detection going on.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup.
So for the peak crest, I'm listening to the mandolin chops here, really to determine what's actually triggering the Kotelnikov here in terms of peak compression.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home. I said Lexington, take me home.
I think we're going to need a faster release because of the 3/4 swing fill here.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home.
Yeah, and now we're getting a little more glue in the mix, which is really nice. I wanted to do that before I pull Chris's lead vocal any further to the background because this is kind of pushing it down a bit. Now, remember, the Fairchild is in mid-side mode, and this is happening after that, and I have the difference at 0% here. So this is straight across the board.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home.
And I like it, but I'm going to use less of it. We'll bring the mix down a bit here.
Take me home.
So mostly RMS compression going on here. We're not compromising peaks too much here, but I pulled it in just enough to register.
I got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee.
Yep, I'm liking that. As far as the levels for the vocal, the best thing you can do to double check your level is, at least as a starting point, is to put a loudness meter on your master bus. And then what we're going to do is we're going to solo the lead vocal. I'll let the vocal play for a line or so and see where it's sitting.
Lexington, take me home.
All right, so right around -20 there in the chorus. And now we will listen to the mix with just the instrumentation. And 19.8. So we're almost right in the same ballpark there. And that's your starting point that you want. You want your lead vocal to be pretty much the same LUFS as the mix is without the lead vocal. And there we are. We're right there.
Take me home.
So with the NS10s on now, I will let a little more bass through. We'll take it down to like 150, and then we'll definitely bring this up to like 12K. This is more like what an iPhone might sound like.
Take me home. Lexington,
I can live with that. That sounds pretty good.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home.
So here's a little bit of bus saturation, all running in parallel. The lowest band is getting a gentle transformer and not much drive. The middle band is getting a subtle tube at 50%. The transformer is more like 70. And then up in the highs above 10K, we're adding just a little bit of warm tape, and that's running at 60%. So this is bypassed, and then I'll bring it on.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home.
So a little bit of bus saturation there, which is fantastic. And this is really starting to come together now. Let's double check our spectrum analyzer.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair.
So at 10K on Chris's voice, we do have some stuff coming through. This is at 8. Let's do a little more reduction at 10. I can see this in the spectrum analyzer on the whole mix. So let's do this on Chris's voice and just make sure that there isn't any high sibilant stuff jumping out here.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home.
A little more control up there.
Take me home.
I'll turn the air control back up now. So a little bit more on top of that, just a hair.
Take me home.
Want his voice sitting out on top of the shimmer of the mix.
Take me home. Lexington, take me home. Take me home.
And then one last lead vocal move.
Take me home. I find solace in many a place.
We're just going to turn the auto gain up, and we're going to try to take out a little bit of some mid frequencies that we don't need in Chris's voice, and listen to the lift around the frequency that we start to remove.
Take me home. I find solace in many a place, but without your love that was erased. Well, you told me that you loved me, you told me that you cared, and you told me that you would go anywhere. Oh, take me.
I'm actually hearing it at around 700. And we will just go right back up to our first EQ. We already had some stuff going on at 7. Let's carve a little more out there.
Take me home. Dead. Whoa, take me home. I find solace in many a place, but without your love that was erased. Well, you told me that you loved me, you told me that you cared, and you told me that you would go anywhere. Oh, take me home. Lexington, take me home.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's coming along really, really good. Now, we haven't even touched any reverbs or delays yet. And even though we use those super subtly in Bluegrass, that is going to make a big difference. But now we have good dynamic control and everything has its own little home in the mix. And it's really starting to sound glued together and really, really finalized. So we're almost there. And those were some really important moves that we just made. So I hope that was valuable for you to watch that. What we're trying to do is let the instruments speak naturally in the mix and just create a space for everything to breathe. So I think we've done that really well. I think this sounds like it's almost finished. And you'll notice that in this style, we're not doing a lot of the fancy parallel processing that you would see in a lot of other mixes. We're trying to keep this as minimalistic as possible. And that's why I found it so informative and it was so educational for me to work on this project, because it really was a less is more approach, trying to nudge things gently right to where they need to be with no over processing at all. So, all right, you guys, thanks for checking this out, and definitely check out the band. The links are below the video, and I'll talk to you all soon. Happy mixing.
Sing, son, take me home. I've got a twin bed, I got a one easy chair, I got a blue coffee cup that says Kentucky State Fair. Oh, take me home. I said, Lexington.